Hi, this is Michael. Welcome to week 10. We've finished. This has been such an enjoyable class. You guys have done such great work. And let me just go over a little bit of what happened last week. We're still looking to make sure that we've got you all connected to some sort of a service. The reason I picked these services is that unlike many of the millions of different websites, these are usually based on some sort of user created data, and you can see the advantages of that, right? If you can have other people do quote unquote the work for you, you can scale very fast, you can engage all sorts of different people in your service, but it does take all the techniques and concepts that we've been exploring for the past few weeks to be able to manage data without actually having people do it. Now, I will caveat that there are still people behind the scenes. We all are aware of Facebook having humans involved in curating things. I'm not really too worried about that. What I'm interested in is how do the people who design this architecture, how did they manage it? So for 8 weeks, we've been kind of plodding along on how each layer, starting from the data, which is where your paper should begin, just you're going to submit a record, become a member, contribute. And I really do want that focus on being a contributor. So if that isn't clear in any of please do read through the final paper. Contributing is the main exploration here. But as a contributor, what rewards you is a sort of the second part, right? So if you think of metadata that we did this week, the second part might be likes, if you want to use that metaphor, right? If someone liked your post, which keeps you engaged in continuing to contribute. So that'll be sort of the arc of the paper. You're going to start with data. You're going to try to figure out taxonomies, navigation, just like we did. How did people manage to get around and find things? If, for example, any of the metadata we discussed this week comes into play, that's a perfect place to go. And then at the end, you're going to try to say, well, how do you improve? So this week is wisdom, the very top of the pyramid. Last week was metadata. So I want to commend everyone for their really interesting work here on describing different areas of trust. I mean, it's really fascinating in how ratings can or cannot be trustworthy, and how do you make it trustworthy. So my hope is that in this way we're sharing together, that you're able to not only see other people's work, but see the context in order to offer comments. And that's what I try to do, is to offer comments that are helpful. We did a very short amount of work, almost none at all, talking about data visualization, but I just wanted to point out that that's another technique, especially for numeric data, to allow people to see and to trust. Really, it's about trust. We trust that this is meaningful because I can see something that you've made available. And of course, we're talking about that core data. Just again, want to reiterate that the data itself is where you want to start, because that's where everything stems from. So now the thing we added this week is metadata. Let's say it's ratings, it's views, it's anything that kind of differentiates one thing from another. Popularity could be the biggest theme of this week, which brings us into the knowledge realm, because when something is popular, it's well known, it's referenced, you can kind of fit the pieces together, right? That if it's unknown, it's obscure, it's hard to understand, whereas popularity is a good measurement of things to become better than just stuff, right? So there's all this stuff, but popularity is a good term. The bestseller list, even though the book itself may be of no interest to you, just the fact that it's a bestseller often gets our attention. A hit movie, for example. These kind of ideas are very just ingrained in our culture, in the way we consume different things. So that's what we explored, and that's why knowledge is better, a better raise up, so to speak, from information. Information is vast, still a lot of it. Think of data, there's so much of that. We're going up the pyramid now. Knowledge. Let's talk about it this week, because this is usually one more thing added And I will let you know that that last thing is you. So when you start to add your identity, which you've done in many of these situations, you've created an account, you have some sort of identity, and that is, of course, also up to interpretation, since a lot of people on the internet are not themselves. So, without unpacking that too much, one reason Facebook became Facebook was they actually made sure or incentivized you being yourself, being your actual self online, which is extremely powerful. Whereas other places, I was just on Reddit the other day, and people are definitely not themselves. They are, but they can have all sorts of different accounts. Same thing with Twitter. There's sometimes real reality is very hard to discern online. But with that understanding of you, then different services can target you, which could give you as a person a unique situation where they can offer you some sort of value, which I think I showed in the very first week was some sort of a notification saying that you need to do X and here's how to accomplish that. Some sort of an alert, some sort of a very contextual, going back to the book itself, we talk about understanding context. If you can manage and understand context of a person through your service and give them this ability not just to buy something, which is kind of a simple one, hey, sale is a motivator for many, you get an email, something like that. But if it's really tailored to you, that is this next level, the top level, wisdom. And that's what we're going to explore this week. There's a few ideas here about how do you make decisions. Part of the algorithm that we have in our vocabulary, we use that word a lot, is really just this. It's a series of different steps. What do you do when? And I'm poking a little bit of a fun at the idea because it is actually very difficult to do all these chains of events to try to make something of value through the clumsy world of viewing something, such as going back to Facebook. They might diminish the ability of you to see a particular person's post because you haven't interacted with their posts. Little algorithms like that kind of run a lot of displays. I don't necessarily think you're going to need to go too deeply into this subject because it is very, very much the top level, very difficult, even in my profession, to even reach towards something like this. In my professional profession, that is. Hopefully wisdom is somewhat given to you through your explorations, because you're also, you have one more area, which I believe is a video, which I've got up here. Let's see, where is that video? Oh, here I am in terms of, I'm still exploring perfumes. I hope this was helpful all along, that I was going along the same route as you, and then ended up here with this fragrance wheel, which is a way to match your intentions to different smells. Really fascinating stuff. That to me is all connecting this actionable world. And then I believe in the module itself, I have an explanation of why did I ask you guys to get this book called The Portable Dragon. Short reason, and you can watch me do the I Ching, is the I Ching has been around for quite a while and is in fact an attempt to understand all the actions and activities that a person could do. So that's the entire world of actions, which is a lot. And then contextualizing them and giving them some structure and putting them into these different buckets and giving them some context. And then the last thing is the book itself is written by someone who took the I Ching in the Chinese and translated it using Western literature. Unbelievable work of information architecture. I'm just putting it out there as just like a tour de force, right? This is, not only do you have to understand all the concepts behind all of human behavior, but then you have to have read all of literature in a sense to be able to connect it to different thoughts of different writers throughout the ages. A fascinating book. If you got a copy of it, it's just worth having around, I think. So, been a great time. I'm going to certainly go and give you guys feedback as best I can on your mural or on your, on your Medium articles in progress. I would also ask you if you could please at mention me. Just do the comment and at mention, say I'd like some feedback, rather than me having to go in and make sure that you're at a good point, because being disconnected to the submission is, you can keep going and going and going. And I know we have some deadlines coming up. I'll make sure to reiterate when I'm going to start grading these, but hopefully everybody enjoyed themselves, got something out of this course. I'm going to also keep mentioning, please rate and review this course. Extremely important, and thank you so much for everyone's hard work.